To give you a perspective, I was doing 50 weddings a year in my peak and maybe like 100 club nights. And 2020, I probably did one wedding in February, and that's it.
Welcome to the Spark Your Legacy podcast. My name is Kevin Andrade. I am the owner and founder of Spark Tax Services. And on this podcast, we talk to small business owners and entrepreneurs from various different industries to gain their perspective on how they started, their journey along the way, and where they are today. So here we go. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Spark Your Legacy podcast. My name is Kevin Andrade. I'm the owner and founder of Spark Tax Services. And today we have a very special guest. We got Mr. Michael Cruz from Foresight Insurance. Michael, how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm great. Good. Thank you for accepting the invitation. I'm excited to share your story with the following people who are listening. And just to kind of get some background, for the audience, like who's Michael Cruz?
Michael Cruz. Well, when I think of that, I'm a Cuban-born immigrant. I came to the United States in 2001. And now my career is in insurance and my hobby is cycling.
Cycling, like bicycling?
Yeah, road cycling.
You do Ironman?
That's the goal. Eventually one day to do some triathlons.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. No, that's a really, really awesome hobby. And right now, so Foresight Insurance is located in North Bethesda, Maryland, right?
Correct.
Okay. And right now you working remotely, where are you right now? Because you're in Miami, right?
Yeah, right now in Miami. You gave away my secret location. So after the pandemic, during the pandemic, we started coming down here, and now we've kind of started doing that. And honestly, like most of my team right now is remote too. So, and I would say like 95% of the customers that we talk to are over the phone or email. So we were already operating with the systems to do this already. It's just that basically the pandemic just kind of allowed us to do it in the first place.
So Michael Cruz, you founded Foresight Insurance around 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
You said you immigrated to 2001, and I guess what was your mentality in high school? Like where did you want to be? Like who was Michael Cruz in 11th grade?
I don't know. I don't think I had, I don't think I knew or understood at that point yet how that worked. I did kind of start my entrepreneurial or business owner, however you want to call it, endeavors in high school because I did start a DJing in 2004.
Awesome.
So that was kind of my introduction to being in business for myself, so I started DJing during that time and, doing small parties and eventually transitioning to more formal events throughout the years.
Got it. Yeah, DJing is tough business, man. With hauling all that equipment, getting make sure the sound is right, and you're kind of your life the party, right? Everything depends on you.
Yeah, man, it's a very interesting experience. You start as a hobby, and then you realize one day, oh my God, like I'm actually making good money doing this, so I need to be serious about this and treat it like a business. But yeah, it could be challenging. It has its own challenges with carrying the equipment and stuff like that. And I think for me, where it started to get challenging was finding that balance between I worked in insurance and I kept my DJ business, and both businesses started thriving. And then you realize that you don't have a lot of time for yourself, for your health, for your family, for your relationships. So, it's been an interesting journey to kind of understand, like, yes, if you work hard, you can make good money in life at anything you do, but then at what cost, right? So I think that that's what you have to ask yourself sometimes.
Got it. So you're still doing the DJ business, right? I think you're doing kind of on the side, and then the Foresight Insurance is your main bread and butter, right? Okay. So
the pandemic kind of, not to interrupt, but the pandemic kind of just changed all that immediately with it. I was already starting to slow down from back in 2019, but the pandemic kind of just sped that up. And just to give you a perspective, I was doing 50 weddings a year in my peak and maybe like 100 club nights. And 2020, I probably did one wedding in February, and that's it. And I did I don't know, 4 or 5 weddings in 2021. So just to kind of put into perspective how much volume I've slowed down from.
Got it. And was it more of like what was your mentality, or what was your like your balance between the two in 2019 versus 2020? Obviously 2020 your wedding, you know, I guess income went down, so
Yeah.
then we were like focusing more on the insurance component of it.
Yeah, I mean, with the pandemic, what it allowed me to do is what I realized, you can have two things at the same time and you can make it work. But it's really hard to become great at two things at the same time.
Mm,
So what the pandemic allowed me to do is just narrow in on my insurance business, go all in, work on my processes, my marketing, so many things, and then you start finding, you know, the loopholes within your organization that you need to fix.
mhm,
So that was kind of the eye opener. And then also like you have free time to do other things, and that's where I started cycling. And you realize you've been missing out. Like, you
mm,
know, like sometimes you get to a certain point income wise that making an extra 20, 30 grand a year is not going to make you any happier.
mm.
But doing something else, having that free time to do something else, where be able to go out with your family, take a trip, cycle more, that really has a huge impact. It's sometimes not monetary, but we here in the U.S. unfortunately tend to look at more the monetary
Mhm.
part of things, to kind of rank how we're doing.
It's very interesting you say that. So like, and I think for the pandemic, it really opened up people's eyes and prioritize what's important to them, because like I know for myself, like I was kind of just riding the wave, you know, just having fun, you know, spend time with family, going out every weekend, and then boom, you know, pandemic hit, you know, we're stuck in our houses, and it's really like puts things into perspective, what's really important. So I know for myself, I realized I was at a stage just go, 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 have fun, have fun, have fun. Where I mean, I was still excelling in my career, but it wasn't really like, you know, huge leaps. And it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
until 2020 where I realized I got to get, you know, I got to get my CPA.
Yeah.
So that's actually when I started kind of like, again, prioritizing my list. And it's now or never, especially with all the remote work. You know, it's you don't have that commute time, you have more flexibility, you don't have much things to do because of the pandemic. So it's like
Right.
you're limited to what options you have. So I know for myself,
I
really helped
think
me
that
focus on
the
CPA. Yeah.
difference between you and other people is that you actually were productive during the pandemic. I think some people thought to themselves, "Hey, I have all this free time. I'm going to read so many books. I'm going to exercise." And nope,
Hmm.
we just binge on Netflix and caught up on 3, 4 shows, and that was the pandemic year.
And I did that the first 3, 4 months. I'm not gonna lie. But luckily, I got a few mentors to kind of really put me to just tell me to capitalize on the moment, and that's what I did. So
That's
I'm,
awesome.
I'm blessed to have that moment. So going back to your situation, so Foresight Insurance, we're in 2020. You're updating the processes to work in a remote environment. It sounds like your business is now thriving. You know, it kind of grew since then. Um, so where were you before Foresight? Before you created your own company? I know you mentioned a little bit about the DJing. Were you working? Did you have another job before?
Yeah, that's a great point. So, kind of just to backtrack, um, kind of give you a quick resume. High school, I was into swimming stuff. So basically, I was a lifeguard. I was a swimming instructor. I was a pool manager. So I did that for
Hmm.
my high school years,
Same.
and even throughout college. Oh, okay, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I was 19, I was recruited into what's like similar to like a Primerica, where you sell life insurance and you recruit people.
Mhm.
I didn't make a lot of money doing that. As a matter of fact, almost no money. But I did that for I think 2 to 3 years. But what it taught me was it really took me out of my environment. It made me realize, hey, you need to pick better friends. You need to read more books. So it did open my
Mm,
eyes from that sense. And that's kind of how I got started into the whole entrepreneur and business. Um, but then I decided that was not the company or the industry the way I wanted to go. So I worked for Mass Mutual for a year selling life insurance. I struggled with that too. Where my career really took off was when I started working for Liberty Mutual,
mhm,
selling property and casualty, which is what we focus on right now. I realized I did a lot better in that because it was more transactional. The life insurance, I was too young. Um, so that's when my career took off. So basically I worked at Liberty for about, 3.5 years, I think it was. And I saw some of my buddies basically opening up their own agency from Liberty and actually doing well. Or some people that worked at Liberty before, and once they hit that 5-year mark, you'll see them, doing well financially, buying the bigger house and doing all these things. So I naively thought, hey, this is the way to go. So that's when I started, my own agency back in 2016.
Right. Right. Okay. Gotcha. And how, like, what were the emotions? I guess, was it more of like confidence, like, hey, I've developed all this experience. I feel confident in what I'm doing. Let me just jump into this. And then when you made the jump, how was that?
I
Did you have
I
everything
think
figured out, or?
I think about this all the time.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest realizations that I had from that experience is that sometimes knowing too much can stop you from doing things,
What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is that I had no idea how much effort and how much, talent and skill set and all the things that it takes to be a business owner to really make the amount of money that I wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
So I naively thought, hey, I'm gonna be rich doing this, pretty much within X amount of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Little did I know, it's not that easy. So that was kind of my thought process. I thought that I knew better. You're young, you're ignorant, you're naive, so you have this enthusiasm, you want to take over the world. And that's where I was, when I started my agency. In retrospect, the I could have probably stayed where I was a little bit longer, probably make, okay money, and I would have been okay with that setup.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that the biggest benefit of doing what I did was that the challenge of growing my own business has allowed me to grow as a person and as a business person at the same time, because it is extremely challenging. You know what I mean? So you
Mm-hmm.
have to either you grow and you rise to the occasion, or you'll get destroyed and you don't do well. So that is my where how that happened and where I am right today because of that.
Mm-hmm. And when you say it kind of forced you to grow, not just as a person, as a business, like, can you provide some examples?
Yeah, so it's very easy when you have a job to do the bare minimum and get by and still make your living.
Right.
And there's not a whole lot of challenges in that, right? But when you become a business owner, you really have to be multi-skill. You have to be a go-getter, and you have to overcome a lot of things that come with being a business owner. It's a lot more challenging. So that's what I mean by that. You learn to become more responsible, because now nobody's pushing you to say,
To
hey,
push
show
yourself.
up. Exactly. You have to push
Yeah.
yourself. Nobody's holding you accountable. Like, you're the one that has to say, hey, even though I'm a business owner and this is my own business and I can show up whenever I want, I need to treat this just like a job. I need to show up, before my employees, leave after my employees, if I want this thing to work. So, and then you have to learn many different things, right? You have to learn marketing, and you have to learn accounting, and you have to learn how to be a manager. So you realize, like, it's a never ending learning process.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, your business doesn't do well, because you don't have the foundation to help you grow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have to really, as a business owner, you have multiple hats you're wearing constantly.
Right. And that is the biggest challenge right now. I realize with owning a business, and you'll soon realize you're, let's say, you're the doing the thing, right? The CPA, the being the technician, might be 20-30% of what you do.
Right.
As you start growing, the other stuff has nothing to do with CPA. So, like, for example, the marketing you're doing is amazing right now.
Thank
Like, some people might be good in accounting, but they get into business, and if they don't know how to do what you're doing right now, they're going to struggle to find clients, because they don't have the capacity to grab the people's attention. So that skill that you have is helping you grow your business. That has nothing to do with accounting. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like networking, like reaching out to me and doing stuff like that. Like, if you don't have that mindset, it has nothing to do with CPA, so you're going to have a wide variety of skills that has nothing to do with the thing that you do. to help you succeed in your business.
And would you say that you kind of need these skills, or like, because I've heard, like, for example, like myself, I know a few things about marketing and, reading books and, social media and stuff, but I really have a team. I have a dedicated person for that. And then they have also, we have some assistants, some contractors, because it is too much to manage, all by yourself. So like, when would you say, like when you're starting out, do you just have to kind of engulf yourself in all those different types of skills and learn? Or could you possibly team up with somebody or find some support, like for your weaknesses, for example? What would you recommend?
I think that the way you're doing it is the best. I think a lot of business owners think they need to learn and be great at all these things. You don't. You just, well, you had the vision and you knew, hey, marketing is important, and you went and you found somebody that can help you with that. So I think it's important that you understand that. So absolutely, delegate as much as you can. Don't try to master everything, because you're not going to be the best at everything. But you have to have that vision and realize, hey, long gone are the days that I start a business, put up my shingle, and people are just going to show up. That's gone. You have to fight for the attention now. And if you're not doing the things you need to do to stand out, you're going to struggle in business today.
Yeah, no, I think that's what you just said is very powerful. So I know we talked about bookkeeping, we talked about marketing and the technical skills in whatever industry you're in. What else would you say would a first-time business owner like need in his arsenal?
I would say become obsessed with your business. Don't stop learning. Sign up for every podcast that you can in your business. Pick up every book that you can. Go to every conference that you can. Network with other business owners that are in your same industry. Join like Facebook groups that are part of your industry, because all of that combined, it could be one place where you get an idea one day, another place where you get another idea. So never stop learning, and just become obsessed with mastering your business so that you can, be the best that you can be. Because guess what? If you're the best CPA that you can be, you're going to be successful. In addition to that, you're going to deliver a better product to your client, because now you know the ins and outs that if you didn't take the time to learn more, you would have just known the bare minimum. So it is in everyone's benefit to become the best version of yourself by really becoming obsessed with being the best that you could be and learning every time. It's a never ending process. You're never going to stop learning.
Got it. Yeah, be obsessive, constantly grow, constantly learn. I think Warren Buffett even said like he reads like some ridiculous amount of pages like every single day, and he's like in his 80s or 90s. So yeah, I think what you're saying makes sense.
And I even meet, like, I network with like older agency owners, and you see the difference from people that are still growing even though they've been in business for 30 years. And you see people that are being stagnant because they kind of just lost that fire within. So when you do all these things, it also helps you keep that fire within, and it keeps you motivated. It keeps you in the game, and you need to stay in the game to succeed.
Keeps you hungry.
If you lose that fire within, now it becomes a chore to get up every day and do the thing, So that's another advantage to stay connected and keep learning.
Yeah. Okay. So constantly put yourself out there, and putting yourself maybe in uncomfortable positions can kind of keep you going with that momentum and keep that fire inside your belly. Would you say that?
Yeah. I mean, when you say put yourself in uncomfortable positions, I don't know what you mean by that, but I think for me, what it means,
yeah, go ahead.
it's taking risks, So
yeah.
I would love to hear what that means to you.
So, and I say like, so for example, like being on a podcast or going to shake someone's hand that you've never met before, like you said, networking, attending conferences. Sometimes there could be, it's kind of intimidating going out there saying, what you do, or talking to random people, and just putting yourself out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I agree 100%. Like doing this, like people are terrified. I think, you record yourself. Even I listen to my phone calls sometimes and I'm like, like I don't want to, you know, I sound terrible, you're just not happy with. So, it's difficult. It's difficult, like you said, to step out of your comfort zone and do things that you're not comfortable doing. But guess what? Those things make you better, and you have to do it so you can keep growing as a person and growing your business.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. Foresight Insurance. How'd you come up with the name?
I search, synonyms for insurance terms, and that's kind of how I found that one. I picked another name. I was supposed to go into a partnership with somebody. We created the company and everything, but that didn't work out. So I had to basically scramble and find another name, and it worked out. I mean, it's I'm really happy with the branding. I found a really good person that helped me with our branding from day one, and I've kept working with him throughout these years, and I feel like doing that has kept our branding consistent from day one.
Yeah, I think that's very important. So you just mentioned a partnership. Is that something that you did when you jumped ship, or is that something different?
Yeah, we were supposed to start our own thing together, but
was that 2015, 16 around Foresight?
Yeah,
or
2015.
before?
Yeah, 2015. That was the year. Yeah, it just didn't work out. He wasn't ready to do that. And he's doing extremely well still at what he is right now. And sometimes things happen for a reason, and I'm glad things worked out the way they did, because what it really, I didn't realize how complicated a partnership is. So you really got to be on the same page, and some people make it work, and some people are extremely successful doing that. Some people just doesn't work out, because it's just like any relationship. You have to compromise. And the way I do business right now is like, I don't think a lot of people would want to do business like that sometimes. Like I strive for perfection. I'd like to push the boundaries. I like to experiment things and fail, even if if it takes failure. But not everyone is willing to push those limits and those boundaries to achieve that level of success. So yeah.
So you said I won't go deep into it, but just really quick, you mentioned that you guys had kind of the website, the name all set up. What is some advice, I guess, going into a partnership? What things should you kind of iron out between you two or three or more?
Yeah.
Before jumping into a whole, business structure, etc.
I think you really have to know the person. You have to know how they operate, how they think. You definitely want to have some kind of partnership agreement from day one. That's gonna have the terms in terms of like, what are the roles and responsibilities of both, and if this doesn't work out, what are the exit terms. So have a good lawyer is worth every dollar. Some people want to skip it. Some people want to get right to it, and everybody thinks of the best when they get into a relationship, right? But you got to think of the worst too, especially in business. So I would say have a good partnership agreement, and you want to lay out the roles and responsibilities, because very often what ends up happening is that one of the partners is doing the heavy lifting, but yet both are experiencing the gains from that heavy lifting. So I'll give you an example. I know of a partnership in the agency world where they've been in business for many years. I would say 20, 25 years. One of the guys has gone out, found and bought 2 agencies that has made them thousands of dollars because of those 2 purchases. Now the other partner has never bought an agency, has never found an agency. But this other guy, he did it, he bought it, he made the transaction, he made it happen. But they're both benefit from that action. You see what I'm saying? So that is one of the downsides, but also the upside. If you have the right person, you can really find somebody that's gonna help you, which sometimes being a business owner can get very lonely, because not everyone is in your shoes, right? You can't really go to your employees because they don't have the challenges that you have, and then sometimes you can go to family members. You mainly can relate to people that are in your shoes, that in a similar situation, essentially.
Got it. Got it. And I've heard some partnerships where someone just puts up the cash and the other person does just the operations, the day to day, and they seem to work out great. And
Yeah,
then I think it's
I,
more of just setting the expectations before you jump into anything.
right. So like, for example, something like that, I think the percentages are very important. The person putting in the effort should probably get a bigger percentage than the person
Right.
just putting in the cash, since
Exactly.
that person is more of an investor and a passive investor. And that's
Mhm.
another thing that needs to be ironed out in the partnership agreement. Are you a passive investor? Are you an active investor? Right?
Mhm.
Because that's going to help you decide. Hey, when I make a call, I might get it right, I might get it wrong, but do I have the autonomy to do that? So that's important.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to quickly ask you, being in your own business, being an entrepreneur, you have your ups and downs, more downs than ups, right? But you have the peaks and valleys. Did you ever have a moment where you were like, I don't know if this is going to work out within your own business?
I would say the first 3 to 4 years is a
Mm.
very regular thing to have that feeling, because sometimes you're just buried in work, and you can put a 10-hour day, and then you can do that for a week, but then to have to keep doing that. And then the toughest part is you're putting out these 10-hour work days,
Mm.
and when it times to you get the commissions, you're doing payroll, you're paying bills, and there's nothing left for you, but yet you just worked a full month with
Right.
no pay. So everybody is easy to say, yeah, the first year, you're not going to make much money. Actually, you might lose money, but you got to experience it. You got to experience working and not getting paid for a long time, because now you're switching. It's like we all have like a small chip in our head that we think we trade time for dollars, right?
Mhm.
But when you own a business, you really got to think like a farmer, and you have to, you're planting the seeds, and in the future, you might be able to collect from those seeds. So,
Interesting.
you know, when you operate that way, you're making better decisions, because you're not making quick decisions based on money. You're making decisions on long-term benefits. So I don't have a specific story, but I will say
Yeah.
that to me was one of the hardest things, is to really change my mindset, where I'm not looking, saying, oh, I worked 2 weeks, I should be getting X amount of money paid. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Um, I'm looking long term. I'm looking 2 to 3 years. Whatever I'm doing
Mhm.
today is for that.
Right. No, I love that analogy, the farmer analogy. I think that makes sense. And there's a lot of people that I've spoken to where they actually describe exactly what you just did, like where they after paying the operational expenses, after paying their employees, the contractors, the cost of goods sold, like the cost of goods to create like the supplies and materials, all that to create whatever product or service it may be, and at the end of the day, there's nothing left for them to eat. So I know there's a book that I read and it's phenomenal. It's called Profit First.
Hmm,
um, and I'm going to get you that book next. uh,
appreciate it.
Pretty much the concept is to pay yourself first, and then kind of
Mhm.
allocate your funds into these different pools, and if the percentages don't work, then that kind of pushes you to think outside the box of
Mhm.
to make things work. So, for example, if you're spending $500 on marketing expenses because you're hiring just outside agencies, third party, well, maybe that's a cost that needs to be cut, and then you could think of
Mhm.
different creative ways to do it
Yeah,
with still the minimal amount. It kind of pushes you to these different boundaries to think outside the box,
absolutely.
um, which I think is phenomenal.
And just to piggyback on that, I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of business owners make, and you'll probably see it with your clients, it's we put too much money back into the business, and we don't have a systematic way of getting money out of the business for ourselves.
Mhm.
And yes, the business is your asset. Yes, you can sell it in the future, but you also need to systematically take a little bit out. The quantity is irrelevant. I think is the consistency and the game plan, to, just like you would if you had a job, and I know at times that's a little difficult, right? Because there's too much month at the end of the money, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's one mistake that I've made in the past, and something that I'm trying to get better at. So I think the profit first definitely strategy can help with that as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I don't use it. I don't do it verbatim. Just putting that disclaimer out there, but the concept of it makes sense, and I still do this type of allocations, and I have that mindset of the percentage allocation. And yeah, profit first is very important. So I highly recommend that book. So just kind of transitioning to now, we talked about the valleys, right? Now, what's the peak? What would you say is your proudest moment at Foresight Insurance? It could be your employees, it could be a moment with a client. What would you say is like the proudest moment that you have right now?
I think right now, my proudest moment is that I was able to get out of the operation, and I'm no longer the one producing and servicing my clients. It takes a lot of effort to get to that position, so it took me a year to do that. But I think that is one of the proudest moments for me. It's like, oh my God, this thing works whether I'm in it or not. Like now it's no longer just me producing. Like there's people actually that are productive, and their productivity allows me to pay them a little bit, pay the expenses, and have a little bit for myself. So that to me was probably one of the biggest accomplishments that I've had with Foresight Insurance.
That's really great to hear. And how did you get to that point?
I got to a point by intentionally doing that. I think a lot of, and you and I kind of had this conversation via Messenger. You have to think long term, right? I think what happens to a lot of business owners, they are the business. They're good at what they do. They can go and sell and become extremely successful and make good money and make good living. But now they're a slave to their business. You can't take off, because the minute you take off, your business stops producing. And the reason it gets to that level is because the minute you start being successful and you start making money, now you're getting the bigger house, the bigger car, and now your expenses
go up.
Exactly. Yeah. So now you have to be that. You cannot afford to not produce at the level that you're producing. What I've done is I've worked really hard. I'm just keeping my personal expenses, not, extremely high, and just thinking long term, so that I can grab the profits and put them back into the business without hesitation. Because a lot of my fellow agency owners, they get to a point where they're making $200,000, $250,000, $300,000 a year. Now they find it hard to take $100K and hire 2 people, because now they have to send their kids to private school, so they have all
the
these.
lifestyle is so extravagant.
Exactly. So I think that is the key to that. It's like, hey, be disciplined, put yourself to 3 to 5 years, reinvest back into the business X amount, so that you can really grow the business, and then you can actually build the business, not you be in the business. Because that is one of the biggest traps that I've seen right now with small business owners. They are the business. You can't perpetuate yourself. You're not going to have a work-life balance if you are the business. It is the biggest trap, in my opinion.
You're not going to be built to sell.
Exactly. So the book you gave me was eye-opener. You know what I mean? I was already on track. It just kind of helped me figure some things out that I didn't think of. But it's exactly what I mean.
Yeah. Awesome. No, that's kudos to you, man. That's such a huge accomplishment. I'm really proud of you. It's awesome.
Thank you.
So Foresight Insurance, where do you see it? Where do you see Foresight or Michael Cruz, 1, 3, 5, 10, 20 years from now?
Hard to say, man. I want to be a dreamer, and I want to dream as
go high. Yeah.
I want to dream big. I don't know, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if I want to take the franchise route. I don't know if I want to just have partnership, like mini agencies, people that I grow within and that I see potential, instead of losing the talent, just kind of partnering with them to create their own thing. It'll be interesting to see where things go. I think right now I am putting my head down for the next year or so, and I have a goal of income that I want my agents to make, and I have a goal for myself. I think once we hit that, and I prove it, now it's a matter of just duplicating, and at that point it's just going back to the drawing board, and how good do we get in terms of recruiting, hiring, training, and really mastering that part of the process.
Okay. Awesome. So we're getting towards the end of the episode. So there's one question that I always like to ask everyone who comes on. And that's really what are 3 key pieces of advice? I know we went through a few, so you can feel free to grab them. What are 3 key pieces of advice that you would give an aspiring either insurance agent or entrepreneur in general?
So I've given a few, right? I gave the become obsessive with just
Yep.
never stop learning, the networking, all that. So other advices, I would say fall in love with the journey. Because if you think too much about the future, it's going to create anxiety, right? If you think too much about the past, it's going to create, sadness, depression, disappointment, because maybe you didn't achieve what you wanted to achieve. So, but if you think about the moment right now, this is really all we have. So maximize every single day, so live in the moment, enjoy the process, be thankful for where you are, but at the same time, make sure that you're striving consistently to become better. So they don't have to fight with each other. You can create a harmony between those two things. So that's one thing that I would say. The other thing is really focus on your health. A lot of small business, we can easily get home, get exhausted, and we don't feel like doing anything because we put up a 10-hour workday. So for me, what has worked for me is in the morning working out. So I found cycling, so that's my thing, right? Everybody doesn't have to do that. But the morning time, what I found is that nobody calls you at 5 a.m., 5, 6 a.m. Nobody's calling you at that time. So the odds of somebody bothering you that early and interrupt what you're doing. Now, if you go work out at 6, 7 p.m. After, it's not that you can't do it, but guess what? There's a likelihood that somebody's going to call you. There's an emergency, your family, your friends, something's going to happen. But at 5 a.m., very unlikely somebody's going to bother you. So I think waking up early to focus on yourself, on your health, maybe reading, it's key.
I think you gave me 3, but
There you go.
Can feel free to keep going if you like.
No, I think those are the first 2 that I can, the main ones that I can think of.
Yeah, I got become obsessive, fall in love with the journey. It's a process, and just focus on your health. And it's fun because like with my last guest, I'm noticing a theme between entrepreneurs. And one of them is definitely the health component, not only physically, but mentally. So like it could be something physical. Like I like playing basketball. So I actually, go to the gym sometimes 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and just shoot around, twice a week. And it's finding that recreational activity, but it doesn't have to be necessarily moving your body, which is important. But to start off, it could be something simple as painting.
Yes.
Reading a book, just something fun, something more of just, just to get away from everything and keep that creativity moving, right? Because I think what people don't realize is there's more to life than work.
Right.
The work is always going to be there, whether you go do, whether you put in 16-hour days, you're doing 10-hour days, 16-hour days every day. I mean, the work is always going to be there. And I think it's very important to take a little bit of time out of that schedule for yourself. Besides your family, I think just for yourself.
Right.
I think it's very huge.
We all need that one thing outside of work. And it doesn't have to be one thing per se. It could be multiple things, but having something to strive for outside of work, money, nothing related to the regular grind, it balances out everything else. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. Well, thank you, Michael. This has been a pleasure. You dropped a lot of gems in this podcast, so I really, really appreciate it. For Foresight Insurance, what can you kind of expand on the services that you provide?
Sure. So, Foresight Insurance, we're an independent insurance agency. What that means is that we have access to various insurance companies. We focus on auto, home, business, and life insurance. I say to people that the advantage of going with us versus going with like someone like Geico, for example, is that you really get guidance from our team. You get personal service. When you go with these call centers type of companies, you really don't get any guidance, any service. There's no interest. Where with us, I mean, we're going to build a relationship with you. We're going to tell you about the things that you should have on your policy that you shouldn't have. So you can hold us accountable. If something happens that, hey, you didn't offer me this thing, or the claim didn't go as I expected, you have someone that you can hold accountable. With the call centers, you have none of that. So I would like to say is like we're the smart way of shopping for the insurance because the guidance that we can offer and the benefits, and you know, we work with various companies, you know, so hopefully if we can help anybody, you know, we'll be glad to do our best.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Michael. I appreciate it. And yeah. All right. Cheers to your success, brother.
Thank you, Kevin. And hey, man, I'm super proud of you, everything you're doing with your new company. It's been quite interesting to see you from like a few months ago when we sat down and you say, hey, I have this thing. You had all these ideas, right? And I've sat down with many new entrepreneurs and everybody has like the perfect plan and very few people execute. But it's been refreshing to see you hit the ground up and running, and it's been like nonstop. The content online, and not just putting out content, but just the value that you're sharing online. That was mind-boggling to me. It's like a lot of people, their content that they're putting out, it's like, hey, call me to do your taxes. That's what everybody does, right? But you, it's like, no, like you're giving tips after tips, lives, all these things. So man, I'm learning from you, so even though you're a new business, like here I am learning strategies from you. So keep up the phenomenal work, and I look forward, sending you clients and working with you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe to follow for more content and for our future episodes. Thank you.